Oh my, oh my, oh my. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Kaleidoscopes should all look like this. Kaleidoscopes? I love them. Yes, I bought about 30 of them over quite a period of time, and I've got the first 10 here to show you. And all different types and all different sizes. Extraordinary. This is one of the most original I've come across, 2006. It's called Feather and Leather. The feathers are what you're looking at in here, would you believe? Look at that. Inside the cell are not little bits of glass or anything like that, or coloured balls, but it's little feathers. And this thing here is a little bulb, air bulb, which when you squeeze it, the feathers redistribute themselves. And also there's a swivel joint just here, so as you move around you can catch every little feather as there's one caught in the corner. There's blues, reds, yellows, purples. There's a nice feather there which is a black one with white dots in it, which is a fantastic effect. So a very, very interesting thing to look at. And you don't need to point down at the bottom because that's opaque, it's just a stand. You need to put it down somewhere where you can get plenty of side light into it, and then you can enjoy the show. Now the other feature of this, which you'll kind of notice when you look inside it, is that unlike all the kaleidoscopes I think in my collection, there's no mirrors whatever down the barrel. You're looking at it down a dark tunnel, and all the action, all the fun is occurring on the bottom plane where all those beautiful feathers suddenly become alive. And every time you puff it, you do get some wonderful geometrical patterns all the time because due to the lensing at the bottom, but with nothing happening along the inside of the barrel. It's still an absolute treat because it's the most original idea for having a kaleidoscope. It's got such beautiful features. So that's a beauty. I was very, very pleased to find that. It's one of the most interesting, exciting things that I found that year, I think. At the same time, I got what was supposedly a more traditional kaleidoscope, which it's not actually an appearance one because it's so short compared with all the other ones, which are like the normal cylinders. This has got globular balls in it, looking a bit like that sort of globular ball, highly colourful ones. But this one you have to turn and roll in the usual way to make it operate. You need a strong light in it like that, so I'll put it against the paper. First of all, look inside and just appreciate what I'm looking at. And I've also got to hold it a little more horizontally, so as I turn it, you get the balls starting to be pulled down by gravity. They're very different sizes, very, very colourful indeed. Superb, extraordinary idea that. And when you look at the outside there, there's nothing to look at. But the inside is suddenly something extremely interesting to watch. That's a more traditional one, but even so it's peculiar because it's so short. And yet it works brilliantly. Both these from America and both wonderful finds for 2006. Now here's one. There was a lovely man in France who used to come to the Nuremberg Toy Fair. I've forgotten his name, but we used to meet each other for 10, 20 years. And it was called Après la pluie, after the rain. And he made some beautiful kaleidoscopes. These two are both by him. This one is particularly nice because the feature here is the end has got a little hologram. This is the early days of holograms. In about the 1990s, I think it was. There's a tiny little eyeball there, all lit up with funny greens and colours and so on. But it's a proper little version of a hologram. And when you look inside, which is the usual thing, and you hold up to light, you need light in this one in the usual way. And I'm going to turn this, and I get some very, very nice effects. Give it a little shake, and you get some extraordinary patterns appearing, and colourful pieces of glass, and lots of geometry, and a bit more tapping, and some very, 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 very nice effects. I think in this one he's probably got square mirrors. I'm not sure. I look inside sometimes to see what the pattern of the mirror system is, but it's certainly very interesting. Very extraordinary idea. He called it steel. Here's another one he invented, which has got two cells in it at the end. It's got a set of marbles there, as you can see, clear marbles. Behind those is a second cell with little pieces of glass of different colours and different shapes. And when you turn it, the light coming through is first of all broken up by the marbles and then plays on that little cell of colourful pieces. And with this one, again, you need to hold it horizontally like this, or roughly horizontally, so that the thing can perform and do things for you. I'm holding up the light there, and I'm getting a really good light show for this one. And a bit of shaking as well. You don't always need to turn it. Sometimes it's just enough to give you a few little taps with your fingers. And you get a much more interesting light system there because of that first cell, which is breaking up the light in a very unusual way. And a series of little white dots where the light going through each little glass marble, clear glass marble, comes to focus again. So a nice one, that. Stones, he called it, stones. Then there was a time, sometime in the early 80s, when I came across MoMA, Museum of Modern Art in America, which I often go to when I'm in New York for the toy fair, created two very unusual kaleidoscopes here. These are both about the early 80s. This one here is very bizarre because it's a standard kaleidoscope. You turn that piece like that. The cell which has got stuff in it is like that. You need light in it, so you need to hold it horizontally. But it's got something very strange about it because the figures he's got in it, it's got colourful pieces in it, but the main feature is a silhouette, a black silhouette of a man standing, which repeats time and time again. So, most strange idea. They called it, I think, a stroboscope. And as I turn it around like that, suddenly all the geometry breaks apart and you suddenly see a figure of a man being produced. Oh, goodness me, there's a whole star of black silhouettes of a man standing upright and so on. So that's a very, very unusual object to look at because it's something no one's ever done before or since, I don't think. So a great find, and I got that from MoMA by post from New York. And about the same time I got this one here called a Kaleidoscope. The lady who invented it, I think, just mentioned here her name actually, I'll just give her the credit, Museum of Modern Art, and it's made by Judith Karelitz. So this is very beautiful because, again, this has got a very unusual idea to it. It's got the end piece, which you turn like that to make it perform. And the inside, as we'll see now as we look inside, is very unusual because there's no flat bits of glass tapering or doing anything else. Instead, it's a spiral of reflective plastic, which takes you down in a kind of beautiful, beautiful spiral down to the base, where we've got most of the glass. Most of the light here is produced not by glass, but oh, that's beautiful. Yes, I find that I can rotate the top end and I can rotate the bottom end, and they both work just as well. It's a polarisation effect that she's produced. So she's done something very unusual. She's introduced polarisation plastic in for the first time, and she's got this spiralling reflective material to create some interesting patterns, not the usual triangulation. So two very, very inventive ideas by probably both by Americans, but both appearing in MoMA. Now I go back to the early 1980s, and I came across three ones. This is a typical children's one, so it's very simple stuff, but it's got a play value. And the play value is it's got a musical box at the end to save you having to turn it. So all I've got to do with this is wind it up, and it's then going to perform, and it's going to turn pieces around, which you can hardly see because there's a lot of ribbing there, but it's turning pieces around like that. So I don't need to turn the barrel like this. I can just hold it like that and watch the action, and it's very nice. Again, I've got to have the light coming in at the side there. So I'm not doing any movement at all, but I'm getting lots and lots of brilliant action there. Superb. It's got a really nice triangulation of glass to get the repetitions coming all the way up the barrel too. And the idea of having something which you can hold still, or you can move it if you want as well, is very attractive to kids. It means they can start being busy with their fingers, or they can just hold it still and go, wow, because that's a beautiful effect. So goodie that. Let it tinkle. There's another one here which came out about the same time or a year earlier. This is the late 70s now, which is the first one making an effect with fluid cell in it, which is extraordinary. It's before those long batons came out about 10, 15 years later. But it's got a fairly simple mirror system in it, and it's got these globules which slowly drift down under gravity. So this one you have to hold it still, look through, and then just turn it around gently so that the pieces of globular material in that cell slowly move down in and out of the focal point and create some very, very nice and pleasing patterns. Very, very nice one. So, but that was a good 10 or 15 years before they invented the idea of what they called illusion, which is the glass, which is the plastic baton with colourful things in it, which went off in at right angles. This was an early version of it. Good one, 1979, long way back. And the last one is much more of a children's one, came out in the 70s, in the early 70s, called Fireball. This is for very young children, really, because they can do two things. They can turn this piece here, and they can roll this piece here, like that, which spins like that if you want to, really fast. And there's colourful bits of plastic in it, which you can just about make sure, by bringing them down to the bottom, you can see them more clearly. So that's going to turn like that, and they're going to turn like that, and they're going to look through and point it up to a light, and enjoy the vision, enjoy the view, enjoy the show. It's particularly interesting when you see how different it is when you turn it like that and you turn it like that. With that way you're getting gravity to move it. This one is being moved by the rotation of that ball at the end. Very, very nice indeed. Oh my. So the last one to show you is, again, completely different to anything else I've ever had in kaleidoscopes, because it's not one you look through, you look at it, would you believe? This is a projecting kaleidoscope. I think that's the only time it's ever been done. So I've got to set up a screen, and I've got to show you what the thing does before I set it up. It's got, that's the kaleidoscope itself. It's got a battery inside it. I'll turn it off now. If I turn this on, you'll see it glowing quite bright. Woo! And what I'll do is, I could just use that and turn it like that and point it at the screen. You get the effect. It turns on, there we are, like that. You get an effect like that. But they provide it rather thoughtfully with a little machine like this, which turns it round and round. No tune this time. The other one stopped, so we turn this one on. This is silent, but it's moving that this wooden handle here, and it's going to be placed into there, placed on top of there, and if I can get it into the right position. Now for this one we'll have to turn the lights down to make it perform, but I'm getting it roughly into position where the light coming from that is projecting on the screen. There's no peering through little eyeglasses. Let's see if I can go a little bit further away. It's got to be in focus, and for that we'll have to get the lights right down and then see if we can see some of the effect. There's some quite colourful bits of glass here, including red bits and green and yellow. And it's a real light show, but again, no peering. It's a very, very unusual idea. No one's ever done this before, I don't think. A projecting kaleidoscope, not for peering down, but for looking at a screen. How about that for originality? So this is over a period of about 30 or 35 years. These ones I've shown here have been ranging from the late 70s to about 2006, so it's a good length of time, that. But this is, I think, a really quite outstanding one to finish with, because it's so bizarre and so unusual and so different to anything else I've got. I love it. This is kaleidoscopes taken to a new plane. That's what I want to find.